So the Janelia Workstation was built in support of Flylight. It was started about 2011 when we realized that Flylight was going to be collecting hundreds of thousands of confocal images, and those images needed to be managed and worked with, easily accessible to everybody in the building. I'll show you how this works. So anybody in Janelia has access to this website. It's workstation.int.janelia.org, right there. So you can go to this website. You have to be on VPN. It's an internal website. And you can download this tool. So this runs on all the major operating systems. You might need to install JDK 8, which is the Java development kit, if you don't have it already. But besides that, it should just run after installation. And then what you'll be presented with is a login screen where you just log in with your Janelia username, Janelia password. And immediately you should have access to a lot of data, actually. All of the published Flylight releases by the various Fly labs, all the Flylight data sets, some of the FlyEM data sets. The workstation is basically a data management platform. So there's different ways to browse or search the data. For example, if you know a fly line that you're interested in, you could just start from the Google-like search bar here and type in your line name and a search, and you get all the imagery that was collected by Flylight and by Project Technical Resources that you have access to. So there's a lot of data in the workstation, and some of it's private to certain users, some of it's public, but you'll always see everything that you're supposed to see here. Now these are objects in a database. This is all managed data. So kind of the main principle of the workstation is it abstracts you from the file system, and you don't have to worry about where things live if something moves from DM11 to NRS to Nearline. For example, we're actually moving a lot of the Flylight data to Nearline at the moment to save on costs, on long-term costs. But from the point of view of all the users who are accessing this data, nothing will change at all. They can continue to access it right here. And so the way that looks is, we built some viewers in here. You can look at all the processing that's been done on any of these images. And again, this is specific to Flylight. For Flylight, what we're doing is we're processing everything on the back end with standardized algorithms. So applying distortion correction and stitching algorithms and some registration to standard brains and VNCs. And you can sort of just browse this data here in 2D. If you want to view it in 3D, you can go ahead and launch one of the tools that we've integrated with. So VVD Viewer, Fiji, About 3D are all supported here. And if you do that, the workstation will actually just download the 3D volume for you and display it in 3D. So again, this is not how things would look for CellMap, just to be clear. But just to show you what is available currently for Flylight, there are all the objects in the workstation are not just imagery, but they have metadata associated with them. Click on an object, you'll see down here in the data inspector that there's a lot of metadata. You can find out what organism was imaged, what mounting protocol was used, various things about how much disk space it's using, and all kinds of things. And then if you want to just view all the metadata, you can do that in a table view. You can export this to Excel and so forth. There's also all these metadata are indexed. So you can search all this metadata with the search box or use these drop-down menus to filter the results. So there's about a million confocal images in here at this point, a little over 700 terabytes, I believe, of data that we're managing. And for Flylight, we're doing end-to-end data management. So literally the data comes off the scope, and we ingest it here. The annotators in the various labs can look at it. And once they get to the point where they're publishing data, they can actually come in here and mark which images they want to publish and add them to a flyline release. And under flyline releases here, you can see all the different papers that people have published using this data. There's also, all the various data sets you have access to, some of the FlyEM data sets like the HemiBrain. And there's the home folder where you can organize your data. So some people just use the workstation to get access to the data, but you can also use it to organize your data, annotate it, and sort of make sense of it. So if you wanted to, if you're interested in these 4 and you wanted to add them to a folder, you could just right-click them, say add items to folder, create a folder, and call it whatever. And now you have a folder in your workspace that has just these 4 items. The other thing is, when data is abstracted like this, you don't have to worry about the paths or anything. These are objects that will just persist. So what that means is you could share these objects with somebody else. So I have this folder I just created. I can grant permission to any group or person at Janelia, essentially. And if I do that, that will show up in their shared data folder, and they can have access to it. So that's basically what we're doing for Flylight today. The other thing we've done is we built out the Mouselight software on top of this platform, and that looks a little different because Mouselight has their own processes for processing their data as it comes off the scopes and stitching it and so forth. But then they'll create an object in here that represents one of their data sets, and they can open it using the tracing tools. And to show you that, what I want to also bring in is this alternative deployment. So here, we've taken the workstation and actually deployed the entire thing into AWS, where the data, the backend compute, and the front end rendering, everything is done on AWS servers. So it's very fast and performant. And then what you see here is I'm just in a web browser, and I have a stream, an interactive stream of a view into what's happening in the cloud. So this application here is just running in the cloud. I can rotate things in 3D. I can annotate these neurons. This is how Mouselight users would trace neurons through the mouse brain. So that's a really powerful way of working with really large data sets, because you don't necessarily want to move all this data across the internet. And here you're just getting a very lightweight stream out of the cloud, and all the heavy lifting is done on AWS.